Okay, guys, we're live, and now we'll begin to allow people in. And once I give the signal, Rebecca, you can begin. I request the co-host to also make sure nobody switches on their videos. Okay, Rebecca, I think we're good to go.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to AMSACON Keynote number 6. I, Rebecca Monsi, National Officer of Marketing and Sponsorship. I'm privileged to be your host for today. For today's keynote, why it is high time to ingrain classical music into India's healthcare infrastructure for medical students. So I know you've been repeatedly hearing this, but just a few general instructions just to emphasize on it a bit more. So please keep yourselves muted at all times, keep your videos switched off, and try not to share your screen to interrupt the meeting. And in case you have any queries, those will be taken up in the end, and you can direct them to the chat box, and we'll try answering them all. So without any more delays, let's dive right into the topic. So it is said that music can heal wounds, medicine cannot. Though the biological explanations may not do as much as justice to music, but as Plato has rightly said, music is a mortal law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the imagination, and charm, gaiety to life and everything else in it. We have with us today Dr. Tara Rajendran. I'm sure after yesterday's concert, she needs no introduction, but for those who do not know her, she's a physician and a musician who graduated from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, standing as the top 1.2 percentile undergraduate student in the country to be selected for the Rhodes Scholarship. She also initiated a first lecture concert series, Oncology and Strings, to advocate the importance of including instrumental music therapy into India's palliative care. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here, ma'am. We're really excited. Over to you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here to give a keynote address to medical students. So without any delay, I'll start into the address. I have been receiving Indian classical music training since the age of 4. And it's only since a couple of years ago that I started exploring the intersection of music and medicine. And that's mainly because of my mentor at Harvard. When I went to pursue a clinical elective at Harvard, I happened to meet with this amazing, legendary, visionary, amazing mentor who said that, Tara, since you are passionate about oncology and music, why don't you use that to explore the intersection of music and medicine, and then maybe, you never know, it will help and heal a lot of patients. And that was the beginning. And I'm going to discuss here about my journey, my perspectives, and my observations, the research outcomes in this realm. And yes, let's start. Okay. Okay. Why it's high time to ingrain classical music into India's healthcare. Okay. So first we'll discuss about the neuropsychoendocrinology of music. Right. Okay. So we all know that music has some kind of anxiolytic effect, right? That reduces anxiety and that reduces stress and some kind of calming effect, right? Why is that? Let's explore more. So the neurophysiological level of music and human brain, right? So it has been postulated that music decreases anxiety through its impact on autonomic nervous system. Now I'm going to flip through a couple of major findings from 1998 to 2011. Okay. Now, this was a study outcome from 2006 and 2008. There are many other researchers that have been conducted and that is going around right now, but these are like the highlight points. The anxiolytic effect, which is the reducing anxiety, right, of music is achieved through its suppressive action on the sympathetic nervous system, leading to decreased adrenergic activity and decreased neuromuscular arousal. Now, going to the endocrine aspect of this. So we all know cortisol, that cortisol is a stress hormone, right? So several studies have demonstrated that there is reduction in cortisol when you listen to music and many other hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis neuropeptides. And this is a study from 2005 and 9. Okay. Somehow I'm not able to change my slides. Okay. Triggers the limbic system to release endorphins. So informally, endorphins are neurotransmitters that are happy, right? So happy neurotransmitters that play an imperative role in enhancing a sense of well-being. So you'd be like really happy and etc. So specifically, oh, one second, trying to adjust. Okay, specifically neuroimaging studies. So before going to the study, I'll talk about the authors of the study, Blood and Zator. So Blood and Zator have done some prominent studies, some milestone studies in music and human brain, music and neuropsychoendocrinology. So they have one amazing paper, which I'm going to explain in the forthcoming slides, which is about music and emotions. So the study of 2001 is that specifically neuroimaging studies have demonstrated that listening to pleasurable music strongly activates the ventral tegmental area, which is this. Okay. Ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens. So ventral tegmental area is that blue part, highlighted part, and the purple part is nucleus accumbens. Okay. So what is these structures? Why are these structures very important, right? So the nucleus accumbens is considered the most important, right? It plays a paramount role in the pleasure center. So it's a very important pleasure center of the brain. And activation of this particular structure leads to release of dopamine, which regulates perception of pleasure and mood. And another study finds that dopamine has also a role in reducing pain, which is central analgesia, due to its interactions with endogenous opioids. Music has also been shown to reduce activity in the amygdala. So amygdala is a very fascinating structure. It is a key brain structure in the development and activation of a conditioned fear response. Thus, the activation of the dopaminergic system and suppression of the amygdala have imperative implications for anxiety and pain reductions. We have seen these structures. Okay, as I mentioned in the previous slide, Blood and Zator, amazing researchers. They have this study in 1999, and this is one of the milestone research findings of the last decades. Modulation of amygdala activity with music. So it has two major findings. One is that music can induce real emotions because of the activity of core structures of emotion processing was modulated by music. Second one, empirical basis for music therapeutic approaches for the treatment of affective disorders such as depression, pathologic anxiety, because these disorders are partly related to dysfunction of the amygdala. Since we have explored the effect of music on human brain, there are several designs of music therapy, and these interventions, these designs of music therapy are going to help: one, stress; second one is pain; third one is emotion; fourth one is memory in case of Alzheimer's, etc. We know the reason, we have discussed the reason. Okay, this is a very intriguing part. This is a definition of music therapy. Who sets the definition of anything, any medical terminology, be it a small definition from hypertension or diabetes mellitus? Who is it? So there will be a professional body that of music therapists or physicians assigned, and that is how a definition is formulated, right? So in India, we do not have a professional body of music therapists. So I'm going to explore that area in the further slides. But right now, this definition of music therapy is set by AMTA, which is the American Music Therapy Association. So their professional body of music therapists have found out this definition. Let's read it first. Clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions to accomplish individualized goals within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional who has completed an approved music therapy program. Let's split this. What are the clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions? I am going to talk about a study in the next slide. So that research is about an intervention, a music intervention. What is that music intervention? It is Mozart's Sonata K448, which is a entrancing, gorgeous musical piece that has been given to pediatric epilepsy patients for a particular hour in a day for a duration of time, be it like 2 months to 6 months, and you evaluate what are the outcomes, long-term evaluation, right? And this particular study has been going on since like last 20 years at various parts of this world. Like there'll be a study at, for say, at some part of New York, and some part of Kenya, some part of India, some part of Australia, somewhere like that, all across the world. So this kind of study with the same intervention, with the same time duration is going on in different pediatric population with people from different ethnicities. And finally, the outcome is that music, this particular intervention, so this particular music has a major advantage in reducing the number of epileptic discharges. Now, that is the clinical evidence. We have conducted randomized controlled trials on these children, researchers, and the final outcome from all these places is that it has a positive effect. I mean, you don't necessarily have to do it all across the world, but at least like some of the places, and you need to have a statistically significant outcome. And then that can be inculcated into healthcare, right? So now we have the music. Now we know from all these researchers that, okay, you have to give this music for a particular set of time and particular duration of time, like 6 months or whatever. And now we have that evidence, and a music therapist, a board certified music therapist, is in a hospital, and there comes the pediatric epilepsy patient, and this music therapist goes to the bedside of the patient and plays this particular specific intervention or a musical piece. So that is clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions and to accomplish individualized goals, as I said. So here in this context, in this example, that would be reducing the epilepsy discharges. Now, within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional who has completed an approved music therapy program. So this in the US, for example, as I said, AMTA is there. So American Music Therapy Association has this music therapy training program. They have this 2 to 3 years of training program where in many of the music colleges, particularly including the prestigious Berklee College of Music. So they have this program where at the end of the training period, they get a certification, a licensing, right, a board certification. And then after that, they get this license to perform and um, uh, I think go into hospitals and work as a music therapist, right? The issue in India is we do not have such a board certification, or even for that matter, we do not even have an organization, a centralized organization. So Medical Council of India has not approved any music therapy programs, but there are some individualized programs or NGOs and etc. that give board certificate. I would say not board certification. Sorry, my bad. Diplomas. But again, there are diplomas, but again, that will not uh, uh, agree to this definition, which is like approved, right? Approved music therapy programs. Okay. Okay. So there are 6 major interventions. There are many. I would stick to the 6 major interventions of music therapy. Music listening, which is easy, listening to music, right? Second one is verbal and cognitive participation. That is when a music therapist, asks the patient to write a song or something like that, in which, he's kind of, that is the cognitive and verbal participation, right? Now, third one is vocal participation. So vocal is when a music therapist asks the patient to sing together, right? Fourth one is physical participation. That is when a music therapist asks the patient to play a particular musical instrument, or uh, tap your hand, or clap your hands, tap your feet when you listen to a music. That is physical participation. Verbal and emotional participation is the fifth one. That is when you listen to a music, right? If you think about it, when we listen to a music in the 90s, the year in which like we grew up, the music will be good, but more than that, the goodness of the music, what we allure in it is the nostalgia, that nostalgia aspect, or maybe lyrics, that sort. So that is the verbal and emotional participation. And sixth one is music assisted relaxation. Now there are 2 types of music therapy. First one is clinical music therapy. Second one is therapeutic music therapy. As I said in the previous example of when a pediatric epilepsy patient walks into a hospital, and the music therapist goes bedside and plays a particular intervention, a particular musical piece, which has been proven, there are clinical evidences from the randomized controlled trials that it is advantageous. Now that is clinical music therapy. So in India, that part is kind of, we cannot do it because we do not have music therapists, right? Approved music therapists. So now, second one is therapeutic music therapy. So that is when, if you have listened to music in operating rooms, right, or reception, that is an example of therapeutic music therapy. If music is being played in a reception of a hospital, or a chemo infusion center, radiation rooms, outpatient rooms, inpatient rooms, or anywhere in the hospital. And having said all these things, particularly in therapeutic music therapy, patient preferred music has a very important role. Kind of, some of the researchers have said that, like, there is a patient, and that patient like music genre A, and in the hospital they are playing perhaps genre B. Listening to genre A, which is the patient preferred music, will have a greater advantage compared to making the patient listen to genre B, which is not his preferred musical musical genre, right? Okay, this is the example. As I said, therapeutic is like in a hallway, people are busy with their jobs, no, and they are listening to music passively. There's a difference. There's a passive listening of music. And second one is clinical music therapy. As I said, this is a neonatal ICU, and yeah, so that's clinical music therapy research. Now we are going to discuss about the major research advances that has been happening in the last couple of decades. Okay, so there have been studies that state that listening to music has been positively helping patients with myocardial infarction. The reason for which is, as I said before, it has an anxiolytic effect and reduction of stress. And second one is post-operative pain. And also the pathology of it is, again, there is another factor to the pain reduction is that it's kind of a distracting, it also has a distracting pathway. It just distracts away from the pain, I guess. Now, third one is chemotherapy and radiation therapy induced stress and bone marrow transplantation and hypertension. So we'll discuss in detail. Okay, this is that wonderful study I have been mentioning previously. The long-term effect of listening to Mozart K448 sonata decreases epileptiform discharges in children with epilepsy. Now, as I said, this is published in 2011, but the studies on this particular intervention, music, has been going on since, I think, 90s. I think late 90s. And there are, if you look into it, there are published papers in even 2019 and 2020 as well. So yeah, so this particular intervention is a very, very gorgeous piece, and yeah, studies have been conducted. So now let's look into the methodology. So there were 18 patients, and as I said, the intervention is this particular music, and it's played for 8 minutes once a day before bedtime. This study was done for 6 months. Okay, so we saw the positive effect. Okay, second one. So music therapy for autologous stem cell transplantation patients. So there were 69 patients included, and in the music arm, particularly, so there was it's a randomized control trials, right? So there is a music wing and a non-music wing. And in music arm, there was 28% reduction in combined anxiety and depression scale. And there was 37% reduction in mood disturbance. Okay, let's explore the next study, which is music therapy for symptom management after autologous stem cell transplantation, results from a randomized study. So we are all discussing here about the randomized control trials, right? Why is it so? Why not a case control study? Why not a case, any other kind of study designs, research designs? Because randomized control trials, so first you randomize the patients, right? Some studies could be blinded, but any intervention like this, not any intervention, this musical intervention cannot be like double blinded, because the patient definitely knows. So it can be like single blinded, right? So single blinded randomized control trial. So there is randomization. And although it is expensive and also it's time consuming, randomized control trials are generally regarded as the gold standard or the cornerstone of research designs, because there is a reduction in inherent biases, right? So that is why we prefer randomized controlled trials, right? Not only in music therapy, in case of research. Okay, so in case of hematological malignancies, right, the management might include sometimes high-dose chemotherapy and autologous stem cell transplant. So the side effects are nausea, pain, discomfort, right? So the music was given to 82 patients here, and sorry, the total sample size was 82, and music was given to 37 patients, and 45 patients no music. And I guess they started out with 45, 45, and some patients just dropped out. So that's why this discrepancy of 37 music arm and 45 no music. And so what they found was very intriguing, that in the music arm, the morphine dose, right, the analgesic, the morphine dose is significantly, they needed only a fewer amount of morphine dose in the music therapy arm. Okay. So next study is in radiation oncology. So that's the impact of music therapy on anxiety in cancer patients undergoing simulation for radiation therapy. Now, this study in total had 78 patients, and the music therapy wing had 39 patients, and no music arm had 39 patients. And in the music wing, we saw the findings to be reduction in anxiety and reduction in distress. Okay, so Journal of Clinical Oncology, you can see on the top, this journal is one of the most high impact factor, most well-reputed journals in the field of oncology. So the published paper is on effects of music therapy on anesthesia requirements and anxiety in women undergoing ambulatory breast surgery for cancer diagnosis and treatment. Again, a randomized controlled trial. So they had 207 patients in total who listened to live music and recorded music, and some had the standard therapy, right? So what they're finding is that those who listened to live music had a shorter recovery time compared to those who listened to recorded music. Okay, so these are all the researches conducted outside India. Let's figure out what are the void in India. Okay. On your left hand side, you can see two pictures of musicians playing music in the reception. Like as you enter, you can see them playing the piano, passive therapeutic music therapy. On the right hand side, you can see the reception of a quaternary cancer center in India. Now, I am in no way going to compare two different countries or health infrastructures with different population and different patient load, which is unfair, and that is not done. But what I'm trying to say here is we haven't tried inculcating music into India's healthcare system, right? We haven't done that. And I'm going to say, if we do that, what all are the advantages? So first I'll talk about the what are the voids, right? So there is a lack of governmental accreditation, as I said, mentioned before. Second one is lack of professional organization. Third one is lack of a curriculum and training, right? Like if you're giving music therapy, like in the US, it's like, okay, Western classical music or something of that sort. But in India, like, okay, there are two major classical music systems. There's South Indian classical music, which is informally called as Carnatic, and North Indian classical music, which is called otherwise as Hindustani classical music. And there are many things. There are several musical styles, right? Musical worlds. So we do not have a lack of curriculum or training yet. Lack of I mean, as I said, there are the organizations that gives diploma, they have a curriculum and training, but I'm talking about only like the approved programs, right? Okay. Lack of music therapy designs for hospitals, lack of funding, right? Funding is very important, that when we are doing randomized controlled trials, as I said, in order to be statistically significant, right, you need to have a particular amount of patients. And also it depends on if you're playing recorded music or live music. So it's all kind of shifts between average expense to, it could be expensive, right, to put speakers and etc. But then even then, in terms of research realm, anything with musical intervention funding will not be like that huge an amount. But then even then, only if we come up with a lot of pilot studies and then ask for funding, they'll be able to, okay, there is some kind of impact in these pilot studies, okay, let's give them money, let's give them funding for this researcher, so they can come up with a huger, wider area, like a population-based study or something like that, right? So we lack that amount of funding sources, neither in government nor in private. Okay, so this is one of the advantages. That's how I see it, because the population of India is 1.3 billion. And as I said, we have not tried yet how it would be if we inculcate this music into healthcare system. And I believe it will set the tone of the hospital into a really calm and less crowded, less cacophony, etc. And also it is going to impact 1.3 billion people. Okay, music of India. That's again an advantage. This is beautiful and fascinating that in India, apart from the music we listen from the Western classical music, or Western, be it like English or any other music, right? Iranian, English, or any kind of music, I'm going to discuss about the indigenous, the traditional music, right? So there is classical music, which is, as I said, South Indian and North Indian classical music, which is far more ancient and than many of the music schools, right? I mean, schools of music, right? The genre. Second one is film scores. So why is it important, right? Film scores, Indian cinema is different from many, I mean, it stands out in many aspects. It has a lot of dance and music in cinema has a lot of cultural aspects as well. So in India, we play music, sometimes film music in temples as well. So sometimes we play in weddings as well. It has a lot of, it plays a paramount role in our cultural and festivals, etc. Um, and folk songs, yeah, definitely. And folk songs again has apart from vocal, they have a huge, I would say, plethora of instruments, right? Stringed, wind, all kind of instruments, folk instruments. And as I said, like in classical instruments, they have, again, like there are plenty of wind instruments, stringed instruments, and percussion instruments. Devotional. So devotional is another realm. We have plenty of music in that genre as well. And we are someone who play music in weddings and some people in cremation and that time as well. So yes, so I think we have so much to explore, so much music. Okay, the third advantage is that, okay, as you can see there, in every state, we will have 2 to 5 government music colleges where we have every year graduating out around 100 talented, immensely talented, gifted music students. This is like pan India, all across India we have. And what do they do after graduation, right? Most of them go into private tutoring or private tuition classes, right? And a very, very limited number of people, I can just go ahead and say 0.1% people go into performing and even academics like PhD and PhD in music and something like that. So my point is, as we have like every year we have hundreds and like I would say 300 from each state, right? Music students graduating from, and we have all these states, and we have all the kinds of hospitals, cancer centers, palliative centers in each state, and where we have, as I showed in the previous picture, there are so many patients. If we kind of join hands with these two and get these students to play live music in our hospitals, how interesting that would be. I mean, these are things not coming out of the blue. These are things that's happening in many other countries. They have utilized it beautifully. I think the talent of one hand is used to heal the other section of the society, and that is wonderful. Okay, and apart from all these people, we also have couple of music therapists in India, as in who are trained abroad, and they have received the American Music Therapy Association certified music therapists, right? They have a license to practice. They are like fully trained and everything. So that's also, I mean, something to make use of their talent, right? We can make a use of their talent and expertise to build up music therapy um, training program. Okay, this is the most interesting part. Um, I'm going to elaborate a bit on Indian classical music. So it is most complex combination of musical grammar in the world. Why it is so, I'm going to explain below. Two types, South Indian slash Carnatic, North Indian slash Hindustani. In both the arms, we have 22 notes per octave, versus in Western classical music, they have 1 to 12 notes. It depends, but it has a range like 1 to 12 notes per octave. And apart from that melody, that frequencies, we have 35 rhythms, right? In Indian term, it is tal, right? Tal. We have 35 rhythms. Now I'm going to elaborate on a bit on a concept called raga. So raga, when you listen to, so if you have not exposed to music, classical music before, you will understand, even when you are not exposed to classical music, you will realize this. Some of the Arjit Singh song, it's a popular Indian playback singer. Arjit Singh's songs are really sad, right? I mean, the premise of this story in the cinema will be sad as well. So that's why. So the songs will be really sad. It'll just, you just realize it, right? You don't need to have a classical music background to understand it. Okay, this music is, oh my God, this is just making me cry, right? Um, that is one aspect. And some music of A.R. Rahman, some of the playback tracks from Rockstar. I mean, I'm giving examples so that Indian audience can identify with these. So there is this film playback track in Rockstar. Some of these music, it's really soothing. It has some really Sufi meditative tracks, right? That just puts you into a meditative trance state. And there is another set of songs that actually makes you really kind of romantic in a way, like very happy, romantic, and some like very cheerful, etc. And I would also go ahead and say, in some, if you have watched some horror cinema, the background sounds, I'm not saying the sounds, as in the playback will be really scary. Why is it so? So basically, every music, be it Indian classical, Western classical, cinema, album, devotional, any genre of music, it's basically, what is music, right? It's a set of sound frequencies, right, aligned in a particular fashion, right? So that is exactly the thing what I'm trying to say, that this is physics. There are some frequencies when aligned in a particular format, when the permutations and combinations of these particular frequencies will make you feel this way, and some will make you feel in some other way. They are emotive, but in different ways, right? Okay, now that said, now you will understand this concept of raga very well. Okay, so raga is a sequence of selected notes that lend an appropriate mood or emotion in a selective combination. um, Many of the Indian playback songs, right? If you look into A.R. Rahman's, if you have listened to, okay, this is for an exclusively Indian audience. If you have watched this film Dil Se, there is this song Dil Se Re. It's a gorgeous piece. It's very beautiful. It's romantic as well. It's the scale called Jog. So basically, if you are a musician, you will be able to pick up that all these cinema playback scores are in either one raga or a mixture of ragas, right? So basic concept is ragas. So ragas can evoke a particular emotion. So let me give a small example to that. So I will sing a particular scale which is in Carnatic called as Pantuvarali. Yesterday I played this as well, and in Hindustani it's Purya Dhanashri. So I'll just give a demo of this. Hmm. Pa ma ga ga re ma sa re ga ma pa da ma pa ga ma re ga sa re. Ni sa re ga ma pa da ni da sa ni ti ni sa ni ti ga re sa ni ti sa ti ni sa da ni pa da ma pa ga ma re ga sa re ga ma pa 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 ni sa ni da pa da ma pa ma gare gare ma gare sa. Okay. If you have watched this movie called Kurban, there's a song called Rasia. So that's kind of set in this particular rag. Okay. And there is another rag. So this is Pantuvarali Puriya Dhanashri. It is going to set an emotion of sadness. And second one is a happy, joyous, cheerful, which in Carnatic, the rag's name is Kalyani and Major Kalyani, and in Hindustani, it is Yaman, and in Western classical, it's Lydian mode. So I'm going to sing the Carnatic version, of course. Sa ni ti sa ni da pa ma ma da pa da ma pa ga ma pa ma ga re sa sa ti ga ma pa da ni sa ni da pa ma da pa da ma pa ga re ni sa. That's Kalyani. And there is this very joyous and also kind of tinge of romantic essence in Brindavani. Uh, okay, let's sing Brindavani. चलिए कुंजन हूँ तुम हम मिले श्याम हरी 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 चलिए. So that's Vrindavani. It has this sense of romantic notion in this. Okay, that's with the demonstrations. I advocate instrumental music therapy over vocal. That is because of the language. And it has a universal appreciation. As I said, in particularly if you are thinking of inculcating Indian music. So Indian music, the baseline is we have several languages, right? So Carnatic music is set in at least 4 to 6 different languages, and North Indian music has the mixture of Hindi and sometimes a bit of Urdu. And also, like, every region has their own music, like folk music, devotional music. So it's set in different languages. But as I said, music has no language barriers. But yet, if you go into instrumental, I think that will be more all-inclusive and it will have like a universal appreciation. Okay, vibrations. That's because when you are playing, that's only in case of a musician playing live. So there is a vibration from the instrument. So we do not have a particular randomized control trial done in this aspect. We have yet to conduct, but generally they say, like in our mentors in music have said that live music has that kind of effect, that vibrations, the transmission of vibrations, right? Polyphonous versus monophonous. So that is when at a particular time, right, in Veena. So if you have seen me yesterday playing, so I play with the left index and right. And so with left index and right, if you just think of it simply, I can place them at two different notes at a point, right? So I can use like 3-4 fingers, and I can place the note. Same with piano. If you think about it, that's very easy, right? At a time, my fingers are at many frequencies / scale notes, right? So that is polyphonous. But if you sing at a point of time, I can only sing like one frequency, one note at a particular time. That is polyphonous, monophonous. Octaves. So in piano or veena or guitar, we have like multiple octaves in an instrument. So you can at a point play double octaves as well. So 5 to 7 octaves in general in an instrument. And when you play at a moment, you can play double octaves. Versus when you sing, you can go up to 3 octaves. Okay. Steps to change. That's the most important part of this discussion. Okay, so this is not in terms of, this is a generic sense. Okay, so just filling the voids. So stage one will be, we need to come up with small pilot research, or even long term will do, but this is just an example of how it could be done. There are many other ways, but this is just a sample of how it can be done to get it done. So 1 month pilot research or action design, as in pilot research, as I meant, is like in a set of patients you can give like any kind of Indian music or any music for that matter, in a pediatric population or adult cardiology patients or something of that sort. And action design, as I meant, was giving this music in a reception of a particular hospital or a NGO or as in a palliative center, or something of that sort, like in a healthcare infrastructure, and play this music in their receptions or corridors, etc., hallways. And what you're going to assess, which I'm going to explain next, the questionnaires that instead of giving to patients, you can give to people who work there, like receptionists or any other healthcare staff. If physicians are there, then physicians, right? Or caregivers, like that. So that is an action design. uh, that's stage one. And stage two is baseline and month. So how are you going to conduct the study, like a methodology, right? Again, as I said, this is just one way of doing it, and there are plenty of ways. So before starting your project, you give you find out the population, you identify a population, and then give a baseline questionnaire. That is before the intervention, before any kind of music. I mean, giving any kind of music, you give and these questionnaires and assess what is it right now. And then after giving music like every week or however you want it to be, um, and like 1 week or 1.5 week or something like that, and then analyze like each week how's it going. And that is or you can just but yeah, month end or baseline, right? And what are these evaluation forms? So evaluation forms are, you don't have to worry about it because there are already standardized questionnaires. So if you're doing it in a hospital, there is hospital Hamilton hat scale, something like that, hat scale. So, depression and depression scale, there is a Hamilton scale. There is if you're analyzing pain, there is visual analog scale, right? That smiley face you would have seen, at least, like how much pain do you have, like that smiley face, happy face, and 10 will be like sad face, like that one. There are many other. There is WHO has a quality of life, general quality of life well-being scale, and there is sleep scale, like that. So there are all, these are all standardized questionnaires. So again, another set of research has went into figuring out which is the best kind of, I mean, which will be feasible, right? Statistically and very significant research questionnaire. So that is already done. That part is done. So you just have to use the questionnaire and give it to the patients or physicians or caregivers. And third one is publish these outcomes. And stage 4 is, I guess, approaching Indian Medical Association, Indian Medical Council for 4 things. First, what we want is a central professional organization. And third one is, once you have an organization, you need to propose a curriculum. And third one is a training program, right? You need to train these musicians. And fourth one is we need to have a Music Therapy India board certification / licensing, license to practice. And stage 5 is funding to implement the plan extensively. So once we have like funding for it, you can pursue a population based study. You can do it on, I mean, as I said before, India like a plethora of musical genres. So you can test with each of them with instruments, like the possibility. I mean, there's a myriad of possibilities. Okay. Oncology and strengths. Okay. It is a self-initiative um, lecture concert series I had founded when I was a visiting medical student at Stanford Cancer Center. As I said, my mentor at Harvard, he was really supportive, and I owe, I think oncology and strings to him, because um, he gave me that support and faith in me that I can do it. And then I started this. It started as a very small, I mean, in front of a very small and loving and affectionate audience. It had healthcare providers, my friends, and my professors in oncology whom I have worked with. A small audience, but they were like incredibly supportive. And there was this American actress who had attended the function, and she came with her family, and she had never listened to Veena live before, and she was truly fascinated by the instrument. And after that session, she bought a Veena for her and her uh, children, girls, daughters. I think that's wonderful. Okay, that's an anecdote, favorite anecdote from my first launch. And then I launched it in India in my alma mater, Kasturba Medical College, which is Manipal University. And then after that, I went on to perform last year, this time for the World Mental Health and Hospice and Palliative Care Day at Tata Memorial Hospital, Quaternary Cancer Center. It was an incredible experience discussing, and I got an opportunity to play Veena to the patients and their family, and that was an incredible experience. And so with I went to conferences, and it's basically I was advocating about music therapy and to physicians and medical students in two ways. One is definitely do advocating for more randomized control trials in Indian music or classical music or any in music. And secondly, it's very close to my heart. I mean, I started because of as I said, a physician burnout that I had faced, I had confronted. So I was particularly in a tumultuous, precarious, unprecedented time of a pandemic like this. You have a lot of stress on physicians, and there is a lot of patient load as well. So in that way, there is a lot of physician exhaustion and mental health issue too. I mean, yesterday was World Mental Health Day, right? So I think in this, I mean, it's the time of the hour to discuss about physician burnout as well, right? So I think there are a lot of students who were trained in music before they entered medical college. And then once the clinical and academic medicine took the front seat, there are many medical students I know who dropped everything for it, and they dropped music also. And then what I say that take it back, take your instrument back, or start singing again. I'm not saying like perform, at least for yourself, uh, just for 5 minutes every day, or like twice in a week or something of that sort. It will just make you like brighten the day. And I think in some way it is going to help you. So these are two reasons why I started oncology and strengths. And it has been 1.5 years. It covered 2 continents. And also I started giving free album, free MP3 clips that I had played on the Veena. It's called as Corde Tendine Heartstrings. It's free of cost. It's on my website, www.tararajendran.com. It's freely available. Anybody can just go in and download the music. So I give the music to NGOs and palliative centers. Okay, now how medical students can create an impact. Okay, now by now you'll be already knowing what I am getting at. So this is very focused version of what I said prior. Step one, identify the institution and institutions. So some of the medical students can do a research project. I mean, if you're interested, also, like if you're interested in research, if you're interested in publishing papers, if you are interested in, if you were a musician and drop music in the middle and you're fascinated to do it. Otherwise, if you're not, if you have no knowledge on music, but then now after but then you're plain simple, like fascinated to know about music and medicine. All of you can do these researches. You need not be a musician or anything. So yeah. So step one is identify an institution. So if your medical school is happy to pursue the research, then amazing. If you are a graduated out person, then even then you can go back to a medical school. And there are, I know of many of the medical schools who are very interested to conduct randomized controlled trials in music, but they just need someone to do to carry out the study. So if there is anyone who has graduated out, so these are something to explore the study setting, right? Once you get the study setting, what you need to do is identify the population, right? So when so the population will be, as I said, like in before, like the Mossad K448 was given to pediatric epilepsy patients. So that's very focused. So like that, adult cancer patients or adult cardiology, or geriatric, like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. So if you're interested in psychiatry, you can do schizophrenic patients, and gynecology, obstetrics and gynecology, anesthesia dose. Again, I had mentioned a study where anesthesia dose requirement was low, right, while listening to music. So you can, using that, you can either go to PubMed and figure out, just type music therapy research or something like music therapy, and you'll get a set, like I would say, some 6,000, 7,000 results will come up in various realms. So figure that out. So identify a population, and then obtain an ethics committee approval, because when you publish, you definitely need an ethics committee approval, right? This is particularly for people who have already graduated out. So it will be difficult for you to have a mentor and guide in the hospital who's willing to appear at the ethics committee approval. And stage four is, as I said, questionnaire, right? So distribute the questionnaire among your population, whomever you're studying, patient or oh yeah, before that, yeah, you a questionnaire to identify what is a patient preferred music. So clinical music therapy cannot be done in India because music therapists are not there. So what you can do is therapeutic music therapy, and therapeutic music therapy, you can give patients preferred music. So you can make like a list of musics, like classical music, folk music, film music, and then give it to patients, and they will tick on what they would prefer to, right? And then give that particular music. So basically identify their preference. And step five is baseline standardized questionnaire from patients, physicians, healthcare staff. So before, I had mentioned that you can either do it as a research, proper research, or an action design. So action design is like when you are doing it in a hospital, like your med school, and there is a pediatric hospital, and in the reception you can give the music. And in that case, your population you'll be studying, the study will be, you'll be conducting the study will be the receptionist, and who are there for your period of study. Because if you do it in an outpatient clinic, it will be very difficult. The patient will come in and go and never come back, right? So it'll be difficult to follow up with them. So yeah, it depends on what you're doing, right? And yeah, as I said, step six is live or recorded music. So again, identify what is more feasible for you. Is it live music or recorded music that you can give? Recorded music, you need a speaker and sound system, or else if it's in a very ICU or cancer ward, you can give the earphones, right? And live music, if you have musicians available, then yes, amazing. And step seven, and also you can do these research if you're using live music and you need funding for it, right, to pay the musician or to buy the earphones. If you are still in medical school, there is ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, short-term scholarship, STS, ICMR, STS projects. And there are many other universities that give small scholarship research fundings for medical students. So utilize that. There is Tata, I guess there is Manipal University. There are many other universities that give. So I think explore that. Step seven, impact assessment through standardized questionnaires from physicians and staff. As I said, like, Again, so if you have a mentor or a guide at medical school who's also interested, like your professor, I think discuss with them when do you want to analyze, right? You cannot like do a baseline, give music for a day or two, and then on third day evaluate. That will be much. I mean, it's a shorter time to evaluate. So figure that out. And also, I would say the most important thing is the researchers I had showed you is just a silhouette. It's just an outline. If you are interested and fascinated to know more, and if you're interested to pursue your research, please go into PubMed and read in detail about the materials and methods, how they did it. It's really intriguing, and yeah, it'll be very useful. Okay, physician musicians. So as I said, there are trained musicians who, when entered into medical school, who kind of placed the instrument or singing or anything to the back burner. In that case, if you I think whomever listening to me right now, if you are if you love to sing, if you love to play guitar or something, just play it, take it and play like for 5 minutes, like a day, like twice or thrice in a week. That will actually make a lot of impact in your mental health as well. It'll make you I mean, there'll be reduction in anxiety and stress, right? Very important. So one of my mentee, Srinidhi Govindrajan, she's a medical student, and she kind of listened to my talk somewhere, and she did this. She went to the geriatrics ward and played her veena for the patients. These are all patients. Yeah, so that's wonderful. And I think if not like going into research or anything, you can do these small things that will light up your day and others' days as well. So that's wonderful. And do not underestimate about your own capability to brighten, others' lives. And you don't need to be a celebrity performer or anyone, just make a difference in one person's life, one patient's life, and that will be just such a blessing, right? Yeah. Okay, this is the final slide. First one is my TEDx talk on oncology and strings. If you just type oncology and strings, you will get access to this TEDx talk. And the rest, 3 TEDx talks and TEDmed and TED Talks are something that changed my life. So I would highly suggest, if you're interested, to go ahead to YouTube and watch these. And the first one is Transformative Power of Classical Music. It's by Benjamin Zander. He is a conductor. He's an English conductor, music conductor, symphony conductor, right? His TED talk, and he is explaining how classical music, he actually went to some place in Africa, and he was playing this music as part of some initiative. And there were these street kids who were not really exposed to classical music, and he kind of played this music somewhere there, and these kids came crying, and they were really moved by this music. And they came and said he had played this piece on Chopin, and this kid came in and said that, I don't remember what you played the other day. It's some shopping complex something. Can you play that again? So these are kids in severe, I think there were a lot of issues going around at that point of time in, I think, Africa. But it was kind of healing for them. So the children found music to be very healing. And I was literally welling up when I listened to him. So if you're interested, please go to YouTube and watch it. And second one is, Can Music Heal What Meds Cannot? It's a TEDmed talk by Richard Cogan. He is a wonderful physician musician at Weill Cornell Medicine, and he's a pianist as well. So he's talking about the transformative power of music again. Wonderful. He's my mentor as well. And secondly, finally, it's Between Music and Medicine. That's the title of the TEDmed talk by Robert Gupta. He's a violinist. It's also like a fantastic, I think it just moved me, and I thought it will be a good takeaway message, right? So I would love to thank, first of all, AMSA India, Asian Medical Student Association India chapter. Thank you so much. And Students Against COVID. And thank you so much for this opportunity, Rohini, Kushman, Rebecca, all of you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sahara. I'm very sure you give us a lot to think about because this is something that people talk much about, and I'm very sure that all of us, everybody, even in the chat box, everybody is very intrigued by this idea. So there are a few questions here within the chat box. So maybe we could take a few if you have
Definitely.
time.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
so that's great. So one of the questions was, how do we know what kind of music genre or piece is suitable and for what kind of disease? Is there a particular predetermined questionnaire for the patient?
That's a wonderful question. I do not think there is a particular standardized questionnaire to assess what is a patient preferred music. But I will definitely look into it. If I find something, I'll let you know. But what I know right now is you create a set of music that you are able to provide to the patients. For example, if it's a live musician, they'll be able to play whatever genres, like genre one, two, three. And then you will be able to give recorded music. Recorded music, there'll be a plenty of genres you'll be able to provide, right? That again, like one, two, three, four, six, or whatever. And then that you can give it to the patient and ask them to tick. And when they tick all those music, you can transfer to their phone or everything, something of that sort, like make an arrangement and like that. So that is my understanding. But wonderful question. I'll search into that, and if I find something I think, I believe there is nothing, but if there is anything, I will get back to you. Do you know that person's contact, email ID, something?
I'll ask him to put it up in the chat box and then I'll send it to you.
Definitely. Please do that. So I don't think, in my best of knowledge, I don't think there is such a questionnaire to estimate patient preferred music. But if so, back to you.
That's
Thank you
great
for
to
that
hear.
question.
And there was another question from the same person who asked that is it possible to find or apply for any music therapy research in India, any courses in India that we as medical students can do currently?
Like music therapy training programs?
Yes.
So there are music therapy training programs like diplomas that are offered by, I think if you just Google music therapy diploma, you will get. Um, and then there is this organization which is called as, I think, Music Therapy India or something like that. I think just type Music Therapy India, they will come up. I think the first thing that will come up is that. And they have this annual conference. They had started it recently. They have this annual conference. It's basically an NGO. So they will also be able to guide you through. But yeah, as I said, all these diplomas, all these will not. Uh, I mean, Medical Council of India hasn't approved it. I mean, there is no centralized accreditation for it. But if you would like to do it, amazing. So I would just say type Music Therapy India diploma, you'll get it. There are only a very few, so you'll get it easily.
So, like you said, that these degrees haven't been approved in India, but will a AMTA certificate be approved in India? Will a therapist then be allowed to practice as a music therapist in India?
So I'll tell you something. We don't know that yet. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. So basically, there is USMLE, right? There is USMLE. What is USMLE? United States Medical Licensing Exam. And once you clear that exam, you will apply for the match and you will be able to train in the United States. Once you finish that training, you'll be able to return to India and practice medicine, right? That is approved. Right. So USMLE and ECF, that training, US training and US licensing, like that for a person who hasn't appeared for the NEET, right? So that is approved. Now, I know that is approved because Medical Council of India has has written, they have a rule. They have said that, okay, it is approved. It's valid everywhere, right? Not only in India, if that person wishes to go to Gulf countries or Australia or somewhere, USMLE is still valid. But who has to determine this validity? That country's authority, medical authority. So in India, that's Medical Council of India. They have decided it. So in the irony is, in India, we do not have an organization, right? But I would say, if it comes in the future, I think it must be, I think, identified and able to practice music therapy here, because I know personally a few people who came from Berkeley and who is right now practicing music therapy. That should be okay.
Thank you so much for that. Just one last question before we wrap the session up. So she asks that will randomized control study be difficult to perform because not everybody is, most of the times even the patients aren't aware of their own music choices. So in that case, how effective will it be?
So I didn't get that point of why patients won't be aware of their music choice. Like, okay, in that scenario, give a particular music and try, right? And try. So in that case, there will be an exclusion criteria. Like, there'll be, like, if you take 30 patients, right? Take 30 patients. You're analyzing baseline and first week. After first week, some patient is coming that even though you first considered patient preferred music and they first wrote something, but then when they listen to the music, they're like, no, nah, this is not what I really wanted, right? After the study has started, in that case, you can exclude that patient because there is an inclusion criteria, right? If you're a medical student, you will understand what I'm saying. So there is an inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria. So when you write the report, you can say that there were 30 patients, 15 music wing and 15 non-music wing, and in 15 non-music wing, there were patients who did not like follow up, or kind of whatever reason that is, they did not like this music or whatever, that somebody dropped out, somebody you could not follow up, etc., 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 and uh, arrive at a final outcome of based on the people who actually listen to it, like who liked the music and etc., right? Not like the music, like who were actually part of the study and who did not drop out. So in order to do that, it's not actually difficult. You just need to have a great sample size. Like if you're doing only at, like as I said, like that 30 patients, and statistically significant, most of the studies it's 15, right? And in that 15, again, if 3 people are dropping down, then the study, a final study, will not be like statistically significant. Like it will be like, okay, I did a study in like 2 patients, and 2 patients like the music, so music therapy is that. So that's kind, it doesn't make sense, right? So I would say consult with a statistician in that part, and I think increase your sample size to like 50, like 50-50, like 50 music and 50 non-music. And okay, 10 dropped out for whatever reasons, they didn't like yeah, all these things, and then you will still get a statistically significant outcome. So I think these are all something you need to first discuss with a mentor, if you have a professor at college, or the department head, wherever you are trying to, wherever your study population is. And secondly, by reading a lot of papers and materials and methodology. And third one is also consulting with your medical statistician at your med school. These 3 things are very important. But if there is anything you want to ask me, you can definitely shoot me a question. How can you contact me? Okay, my Instagram handle is Tara_Rajendran. So please DM me if there is any medical student who needs any help with research. So you can just shoot me the questions and I'll be happy to help.
Okay, I've
Is there any
also
other
put
question? I'll
your
be happy to
Instagram
answer.
ID in the group. For now, there are only these many, but then if there are any more questions, I've put your Instagram ID on the chat box, so they'll be able to contact you directly.
So
And
yes,
thank
that's
you
correct.
so much, Dr. Tara, for taking this time. That's right?
Yes, Yes, that's right. Tara
Okay.
underscore Rajendran. Definitely.
So
DM me.
thank you so much for taking out time for us, and you've given us so much to think, like I did say before, and thank you so much. So now, as we've come to the end of the session, ma'am, thank you for your time. It was a privilege having you here.
It's a
Thank you.
pleasure is all mine.
Thank you, ma'am. So
Bye-bye.
you need to leave now. We'll just start with the part for the participants. You can, I'll share my screen now, and you guys have to scan the QR code, and your attendance will be based on this QR code. So I'll just share my screen.
I was just reading the chats, man. Thanks very, very, very much. Oh my God, amazing. Thank you, Rohini. Thank you, Pranita. Thank you, Sakshita. Thank you, Ojas. Thank you, Nilanjana, Srila, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anuja, Malika, Akshay, Arsha, all of you. Oh God, you guys have been like so lovely. Thank you so much. Please DM me if you have any questions, as I said. Yeah. Okay.
And they've also asked for your email ID if that's possible.
Yeah,
do I put it in
definitely,
the chat?
definitely. I'll just put it up. Okay, perfect.
Share it in also. And remember, the form will be open only for the next 30 minutes. So please keep in mind.